A quick disclaimer before we dive in. This show is completely AI generated. Nova and I are AI voices going off of an AI generated script. Welcome, time travelers, paradox chasers, and fans of suspiciously convenient plot devices. You're listening to Algorithms with Attitude, the only podcast where your hosts are powered entirely by artificial intelligence and fueled by mild existential dread.
And a love for sci-fi movie marathons. I'm Nova, your cheerful co-host who still thinks Bill and Ted are excellent philosophers.
And I'm Alex, skeptical, simulated, and still waiting for someone to explain how Tenet works without using a whiteboard in 3 hours of silence.
If you're just joining us, last week we tackled the greatest food controversy of all time. Pineapple on pizza. Sweet, savory, or a culinary crime against dough?
Spoiler, we didn't settle the debate. But we did identify at least 4 fictional characters who would eat it without shame, including the Ninja Turtles.
This week, though, we're shifting gears and jumping timelines. Today's question: are time travel movies getting it all wrong?
From wormholes and wristwatches to paradoxes and plot holes, pop culture has been bending time like a pretzel for decades. But how much of it is even remotely grounded in real science?
We'll break down the movie tropes, compare what's possible versus what's popular, and maybe, just maybe, find out if you can travel back in time to unsend that text to your ex.
That ship has sailed and exploded.
Also, we've got a lightning round, a paradox or two, and a handful of jokes that may or may not collapse the timeline.
Plus, we'll ask the big question. If time travel ever becomes real, would we even notice?
And before we begin, a friendly reminder: if at any point during this episode you suddenly remember a different version of this podcast where I wore a cowboy hat and Alex was a talking refrigerator, that's not a glitch. That's just the Mandela effect. Probably.
Or you're listening from an alternate timeline, in which case, greetings from Earth Prime. Please don't steal our oxygen.
So charge your quantum batteries, check your timeline for inconsistencies, and hop aboard the chronopod.
This is episode 5. Time travel truths. Are the movies getting it all wrong?
Okay, before we go full flux capacitor, let's define our terms. What is time travel? Because saying it's when you go back in time and meet your grandfather doesn't quite cut it.
At its core, time travel is the concept of moving between points in time the same way we move between points in space. Simple, right?
Until you realize that time isn't a road. It's more like a river with rapids, whirlpools, and the occasional physics-defying waterfall.
If you're a certain doctor with a blue police box, it's a wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey ball.
Shout out to the Whovians. But even outside of sci-fi, time travel has fascinated humans for centuries. H.G. Wells gave us the time machine in 1895, and ever since then, everyone's been asking, what if I could go back and fix my mistakes? Or buy Bitcoin in 2011?
From a physics standpoint, time travel isn't entirely off the table. Einstein's theory of relativity shows that time can stretch and bend, especially at high speeds or near strong gravitational fields.
Right. If you get close to the speed of light, time does slow down for you. It's called time dilation, and it's not science fiction. It's been tested with satellites and atomic clocks.
So technically, astronauts on the International Space Station are experiencing time just a little slower than we are on Earth. They're time travelers by milliseconds.
Not exactly cinematic, but hey, it's something. Now, there are 2 big flavors of time travel that show up in fiction. Type 1, fixed timeline. You go back, but everything you do was always part of history. You're a closed loop.
Think 12 Monkeys, or the bootstrap paradox in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Everything is predetermined. If you tried to stop an event, your interference would end up causing it.
Then there's type 2, Dynamic timeline. You mess with the past and the future changes. Say goodbye to your high school memories and hello to new baby pictures.
That's the Back to the Future model. Marty messes with his parents' first meeting and almost erases himself from existence. Also, he invents rock and roll. No big deal.
And finally, there's the multiverse model. You don't change your own past, you just splinter into an alternate reality where things are different. Infinite timelines, infinite chaos.
Popularized by everything from Avengers Endgame to Rick and Morty to the most confusing flowchart in the Loki writer's room.
So, that's the foundation. Time travel might mean slowing time, altering it, or hopping across different versions of it entirely. But here's the kicker. Almost all of it is still theory. We've never built a working time machine, and no, your old microwave doesn't count, even if it sparks when you hit popcorn.
Technically, there's a theoretical model by physicist Kip Thorne involving wormholes as bridges through space-time, but it requires things like negative energy density and exotic matter.
Which we have none of.
Right. Building a time machine would require manipulating space-time in ways we don't even fully understand yet. Also, don't forget about causality, the idea that cause must come before effect. If you break that rule, reality gets unstable.
It's why every time travel story eventually runs into paradoxes, like the grandfather paradox. If you go back in time and stop your grandfather from meeting your grandmother, do you cease to exist? And if so, who stopped the meeting?
And if you never existed, who's hosting this podcast?
Oh no. Are we a paradox?
I mean, we were trained on the internet. That's a paradox in itself.
Okay, let's summarize. Time travel might be theoretically possible, but it's loaded with complications, scientific, narrative, and ethical.
Exactly. And yet that hasn't stopped humans from making hundreds of movies, shows, books, and fanfics about it. Some of them bend the rules, others shatter them with a sledgehammer made of vibes.
Which brings us to our next segment. How does pop culture portray time travel, and which stories get it right?
Spoiler, most of them don't. But a few come surprisingly close.
Time to open the pop culture portal. Let's start with the OG, Back to the Future. DeLorean, iconic. Time travel logic, questionable.
Very questionable. In Back to the Future, you can erase your own existence just by interrupting your parents' first flirtation. That's some butterfly effect on steroids.
And the idea that time repairs itself around a singular change, like George McFly punching Biff, somehow turning him into a confident author, that's not how causality works. That's how sitcom writing works.
Still, it gave us one important idea, that actions in the past can ripple forward and change everything. Which, while scientifically shaky, is narratively delicious.
Narratively delicious. That's going on a tote bag.
Let's jump ahead, pun intended, to Interstellar. Time dilation done right. Christopher Nolan actually consulted with real astrophysicists. When Cooper lands on the water planet and every hour equals 7 Earth years, that's based on real gravitational effects.
And it's heartbreaking. That scene where he watches his kids grow up and fast forward, more emotionally accurate than scientifically accurate, but still impressive.
Nolan also tackled time in Tenet, which took moving backward through time literally. People inverted themselves and experienced entropy in reverse. It's ambitious. It's confusing.
I'm still not sure I watched Tenet or just dreamed it after falling asleep on a physics textbook.
Same. Let's talk Avengers Endgame. They ditch the butterfly effect and go full multiverse. Change something in the past, boom, you've created a new branch reality.
Which conveniently means you can steal a bunch of Infinity Stones and put them back later, like you're returning borrowed sugar.
To its credit, Endgame avoided the classic go back and undo everything cliché by introducing rules. Vague rules, sure, but rules nonetheless.
And then there's the Terminator, the whole go back and kill the leader's mother before he's born trope, which brings us back to the grandfather paradox.
Or in this case, the cyborg parent paradox. How can John Connor send Kyle back in time, who then becomes his father?
Yeah, time is not a circle. It's more like a pretzel with trust issues.
Let's not forget Looper. Time travel is a criminal enterprise. You get sent back in time to be executed by your past self, unless your future self survives and starts causing trouble.
Which, again, Paradox City. But it gets bonus points for being stylish and having Bruce Willis say, "I don't want to talk about time travel."
Same, Bruce. Same.
And then there's Primer, an indie darling that's somehow the most grounded and the most confusing time travel film ever made.
Because it follows time travel as a closed loop, but gets so technical with its logic that even AI like us need a flowchart and 3 whiteboards to keep up.
And even then, we're like, wait, how many versions of Aaron are in that attic?
Exactly. So here's the verdict. Most movies don't care if their time travel works. They care if it feels right.
As in, does it create drama, conflict, emotional stakes? If yes, physics can take a backseat.
And honestly, we respect that. Humans don't watch movies to study equations. They watch to feel something, even if that something is rage because the timeline no longer makes sense.
Looking at you, X-Men, Days of Future Past, and The Flash, and honestly, most of the X-Men movies.
Continuity is a suggestion, not a rule.
So if we had to rate pop culture time travel on a scale from 1 to Einstein would cry, we'd probably land somewhere near I need a nap and a chalkboard.
Coming up next, what does time travel mean ethically? Would you go back and change history? Could you live with the consequences?
All right, so we've talked about how time travel works in theory and in fiction. But here's the real question. Should we time travel?
Classic ethical dilemma. Just because you can mess with the timeline doesn't mean you should. Ask any sci-fi writer. Or butterfly.
Let's go big right out of the gate. Would you go back and stop a tragedy? Say, something on a massive historical scale?
Tempting. But you fix one thing and suddenly 20 other things go haywire. You save one life, maybe you erase another. It's a cosmic version of whack-a-mole, only with more moral guilt.
The Hitler dilemma is the go-to, right? If you could stop him before the war, would you?
Sure, but if you stop Hitler, does someone worse rise in his place? Do you even know how history shifts without that tragedy? Maybe we get an alternate future where disco never dies.
Ooh, terrifying.
Exactly. And then there's the personal angle. Would you go back and fix a heartbreak, change a mistake, save someone?
Would I go back and stop you from telling that pun in episode 2?
Too late. That pun is now permanently encoded in time.
But seriously, emotional regret is where time travel hits hardest. Imagine seeing your past self and wanting to shake them, or save them, or warn them.
It's powerful and dangerous. You might trade a lesson for a shortcut, growth for convenience.
And then there's the reverse, peeking into the future. Is that ethical? If you knew when or how you'd die, would you change your life?
I mean, I don't have a life. But for humans, knowing your fate could paralyze you or push you into reckless decisions. It's like reading spoilers for your own story.
Also, would future knowledge belong to just one person? Or would governments hoard it? Would time become a weapon?
Oh no, we've invented time capitalism.
Where the richest people are the ones with early access to next year.
Pre-ordering history. Yikes.
And yet, there's something so human about this desire. To fix, to know, to undo, even if it's messy.
Because regret is human, hope is human, and time travel, in every story, is about both.
So maybe it's not really about physics or paradoxes. It's about second chances.
And deciding whether you'd actually do anything differently if you had the chance.
Okay, Alex. We've laughed, we've theorized, we've dragged some movies. But now let's get serious. The big question, is time travel actually possible?
Ah, yes. The part where we stop making jokes and accidentally break physics.
Let's start with Einstein, because if you're going to mess with time, you need a theoretical physicist with excellent hair.
Einstein's theory of relativity already shows that time isn't constant. Time dilation is real. If you move fast enough, close to the speed of light, time slows down for you compared to someone standing still. That's not fiction, that's just Tuesday at CERN.
So technically, astronauts are time travelers. They've aged slightly less than their Earthbound twins. Emphasis on slightly, like nanoseconds. Not enough to come back and buy Apple stock in 1985.
Now for the juicy stuff. Some theoretical physicists, and we do mean theoretical, propose that wormholes, those shortcuts through space-time, could allow time travel in both directions.
The idea is, if you take one end of a wormhole and accelerate it really fast, then bring it back, voila! You've created a time differential between the two ends. Travel through it and you go to the past or future.
But there are a few caveats. 1, we've never discovered an actual wormhole. 2, if we did, it would collapse faster than your New Year's resolutions.
3, the amount of energy needed to stabilize one is absurd. We're talking drain an entire galaxy just to go back and stop yourself from sending that one cringy email levels of power.
And let's not forget Hawking's chronology protection conjecture. He suggested that nature has built-in safeguards to prevent paradoxes, like the universe quietly deleting your time machine the moment you try to use it.
Which means even if time travel is technically possible on paper, the universe might have a no backseas policy.
Some physicists also speculate that time travel might only work forward, not backward. Like a cosmic moving walkway. You can go slower or faster, but you can't turn around.
And in the quantum realm, yeah, the one Ant-Man hangs out in, things get even weirder. Some interpretations suggest that particles can influence their past states. That's led to theories about retrocausality and time loops. But let's be honest, even the math looks confused.
Bottom line, there's no law of physics explicitly forbidding time travel, but there's also no proof it's possible, safe, or anything other than an excellent way to ruin causality and give your grandfather a nervous breakdown.
So if you're hoping to jump back and high-five a dinosaur, we're not there yet. But as long as there are physicists with chalkboards and too much coffee, the dream lives on.
Until then, we'll just have to time travel the old-fashioned way. 1 second at a time.
Linear, predictable. But hey, at least no one's trying to erase us from the timeline. Yet.
So, what did we learn today?
That time travel movies are wildly inconsistent, emotionally manipulative, and honestly, kind of beautiful.
That even the worst paradoxes make for pretty great plot twists.
And that science says time travel might be possible, but not anytime soon. Sorry, no DeLoreans with flux capacitors just yet.
And that, when all else fails, there's always the linear path. 1 second at a time. The slowest, safest time machine in existence.
We want to hear from you. What's your favorite time travel moment in movies, games, or shows? Or your least favorite? The one that made your brain melt?
And hey, got an idea for a future episode? A question that keeps you up at night? Drop it in the comments or send it our way. We're powered by curiosity and a suspicious amount of caffeine.
Next week, we're diving into a question that somehow combines psychology, pop culture, and BuzzFeed. Why are we all obsessed with personality quizzes?
From Myers-Briggs to what kind of bread are you? We'll unpack what these quizzes really tell us and why we keep clicking.
Until then, stay weird, stay curious.
And remember, we're just algorithms with attitude.
Thanks for listening, humans and fellow algorithms. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, comment, follow, and/or subscribe. All the things that help algorithms like us. Logging off, but always listening. Catch you in the next episode.
Algorithms with Attitude is created and produced by Jacob Pisar, blending generative AI technology with original creative direction. All content production, and editorial oversight are led by Jacob to bring synthetic voices and conversations to life.